So I'm up there at the altar and I'm praying and I'm like, what's about to happen? What is going to happen? Well, I felt the Holy Spirit just drop down into the center of my body and then just spread out.
Hey y'all, I'm your host, Brooke Kinchin. Welcome to God's Coffee Call, a place where there's always a fresh brewed conversation happening of personal testimony and life experiences. So grab a cup of coffee, pull a chair to the table, and join our conversation. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of God's Coffee Call, the podcast. Today, I'm here with a very special friend, a family friend of ours, Mr. Mitchel. He's here with us. And I just first want to say thank you so much for your watching of God's Coffee Call. Thanks so much for all of you who have subscribed. Thank you so much for everybody who has liked, comment, send our messages. My box is flooded with people just loving what God's doing here at God's Coffee Call. And Mitchel is no different. He and his wife have been a supporter of God's Coffee Call just about from the very beginning. Yeah. I met you and your family, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I was working at the daycare your daughter was at. Your wife and I kind of got to know each other. I ended up working with your wife, switching jobs and moving there. We had a revival come to our town, and that's how I kind of got to know you. So I am so excited that you're here with me today.
I'm very excited too. It's kind of humbling because you're very encouraging to me. So it's very honorable for me to be here.
Well, I'm so excited. With God's Coffee Call, I want it to be a place where people just come and tell their stories.
Absolutely.
And so far with my mom and my brother and my friend April's been there. And I was like, I just want to tell more stories. And your story is phenomenal. And so let's start from the beginning.
Right.
Just tell us a little bit about your childhood, if you will.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say I didn't have a normal childhood. I guess it's a childhood that I thought was normal to me. So I was raised by a single mother, and of course she did everything that a mother would do to raise me and provide for me. I'm very grateful for that. Because of her, I am where I am. And I've watched her through the years sacrifice to provide for me. So I think that's where I get that aspect of being able to provide for my kids and be there for them. So, grew up in Ponchatoula, went to school there all through elementary school, but I actually moved when I was going into middle school. Moved from there, moved to Gulfport, Mississippi, and my mom was going to nursing school at the time. So that was kind of one of those points in my life that I remember all the time because it was just a good place to grow up and a good place to be. Right. I lived a block away from the beach, go fishing all the time, and had a bunch of friends. I skateboarded at the time. I'd go to the skate park and wound up moving back to Ponchatoula when I was starting high school. So I went through high school in Ponchatoula High School, and I graduated from there, and I left for college in Nashville, Tennessee. I went to go learn how to paint cars and do body work and be in that industry. And while I was there, I guess I could say I did what every guy or person around that age would be doing in college. I did a lot of partying and screwing up, not to the point where I got myself in a lot of trouble, but I did get kicked out of school for a time period for doing drugs because the school randomly drug tested me, and I was the winner.
Now, before then, had you ever been introduced to drugs, or was that something there at college?
I did a little bit, like smoking in like high school and stuff,
right.
Going to parties. But I'd say whenever I was up there in Nashville, just the people that I've become exposed to and been around, it's like we were all from different walks of life, and we were all from different states, so we were kind of all looking to fill that emptiness and that void, and we all kind of became a family.
Yeah.
You know, whether we were doing the things we weren't supposed to be doing or not. That's what we found comfort in. So that's what we were doing, going out every night, drinking every night, partying,
doing the college scene,
living it up.
Yeah.
Or so you think so.
Right.
You think you're living it up.
Totally.
But you're really not, because at the end of the day, it's just a void you're trying to fill and an emptiness you're trying to fill. So after that, after college, I made some really good friends up there, and from time to time, there was one, he became my best friend, and I still talk to him, but it's been a minute since I kind of lost touch with him. But me and him was like, you know, kind of like ride or die.
Right.
We was always together and hanging out and all that. So wound up graduating from there and coming back home to Ponchatoula to start my career in the body shop industry. And I got a job at a body shop in Walker. It was called Collision Specialties. It's actually no longer that. It's a Gerber now. And I started off there, and I wanted to leave that whole screwing up and everything back in Nashville, because I felt like I wanted a fresh start. But you know, you come back home, a lot of my friends were still in college.
Gotcha.
And I was supposed to be, you know, doing my career thing.
Gotcha.
So a lot of my friends were still in college, and I quickly fell back, just going into that party scene and drinking. And I'm talking about like going to the bar every night, and, you know, just relationships that lead to nowhere. Like I said, you're just trying to fill the hole, fill the void, and being empty. Because at the end of the night, I was, you know, you go home and you're alone, and I was living by myself, so, you know, I didn't have anybody at home, and you just feel really lonely.
So you've said this a few times, so just to kind of, I guess, play devil's advocate or whatever. What do you think that void was in your life? Like, what do you think that hole, like looking back now, you know, hindsight's 2020, what do you think that hole was that you were just trying to fill?
I guess you're trying to fill yourself up. And I'm only saying that because I know what God can do for you.
Right.
So I think you're just trying to fill yourself up. Yeah. With it's not necessarily good things, but you know, you're trying to feel some fulfillment in your life.
Right.
You know?
And so we get lost in our job, we get lost in our partying, we get lost in our friends, we get lost in all these different things, just trying to feel whatever those empty spots are, which are different in each one of us. And coming from a single parent home, like I understand that, like my mom shared a couple weeks ago, like I didn't have a dad. And even though my family was there, my grandfathers, my uncles were there, and sometimes there was still this hole for, like, I just want that male figure, that dad in my life, that covering or whatever. And so you find different spots to begin to try to feel that. So I totally get that.
I didn't meet my dad till I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
But his parents, my grandparents, they did an amazing job of, they live in California. Either though they're so far away from me, they were so close to me. And I remember when I was a kid, they would take me on vacation with them. They would fly from California to come pick me up, fly all the way back to California, and I would stay at their house for a month.
That's phenomenal.
And just hanging out with them.
Right.
And by the way, they're like the best people in the world. They came to this country to fulfill the American dream, pretty much. Most patriot people that I know.
And where are they originally from?
The Philippines,
oh, the Philippines.
Laos.
Okay, gotcha.
So, yeah, they came over here during that time to fill out the American dream, and they have done just that.
Awesome.
So they did a great job.
It's phenomenal. So we're in that college state. You met your dad at 14. Is he in your life now? Like
No,
mom still in your life, kind of thing?
My mom is, but my dad passed away a few years ago.
Okay,
I want to say.
Got you.
He had a big stroke and.
Got you. Now, but when you were in college, like you had met him when you were 14, but when you were in college, was there any like communication, any relationship with you guys, kind of off and on?
We always had this relationship. I could call him anytime, and we had this relationship where it was like we were good friends.
Right.
You know, when you can call your good friend up and you know just talk to him.
Right.
Kind of, hey, I'm here. You know,
Yeah.
It doesn't go any further than that.
Yeah, got you.
So,
all right. So we're in college. We're doing we're out of college.
Yeah,
we're here filling the voids.
Mm-hmm.
What now? What happens?
So I'm still, while I'm working, I mean, I was working at this place for, I think 8 years I was there. So in that 8 years, I'm still just kind of going through the motions, and I'm still young. I'm still in my early 20s, so you can't really fault me there. Not making excuses though.
Right.
I just didn't have that influence. Or I did. I mean, I can remember when I was growing up, I can remember I did catechisms and stuff, and I started going through that and going to church with different people here and there. I mean, like I told you before, I've been in probably every kind of church they got out there.
Yeah.
I've been in Pentecostal church, Baptist churches, Catholic churches, and all that.
Nothing's constant, just kind of in and out, right?
Yeah, it was
Random?
just here and there. The only constant thing was whenever I was younger, we used to be big Catholic, but my great grandpa, he always wanted us to go to mass with him, so we did that when we went and visited him on Sundays. So that one was kind of but I never like pursued that and stayed with that.
But and this is something earlier when we talked, I didn't ask you, but did in the middle of the trying to fill those voids, did anything from those years, those moments in, whether it be mass, catechism, any of it like resonate within you somewhere, remind you or anything, or was that just not really anything that stuck with you?
No, it was just, you went to church. You were doing church. Just, you know, I'm dressing up. I'm going to church.
Got you.
That's all I can.
There was no relationship. It was just
there was no relationship.
Act of it. Okay, got you.
It was just
because it wasn't a constant. It was just random. Got you. Okay, got you. Okay, so we're there. We're filling our cup. Mm-hmm. What happens next?
Well, I wound up actually meeting my wife Monica while I'm working in Walker. And she worked at Burger King, and she was the manager there. So I'd go there, and it was funny because like I'd go in there, and I did notice that she would talk to me and be nice to me and stuff, and people were like, "Man, that girl likes you." I'm like, "Nah, she don't like me," you know, just kind of brushing it off.
Right?
Like, she don't want nothing to do with me, whatever, you know. But it was one night I went to Academy, and I actually ran into her, and I was like, "What are you doing here?" You know,
you're supposed to be at Burger King.
Yeah, you're supposed to be. I thought you lived way over there,
right?
You know, but come to find out, she lived in Albany. I lived in Ponchatoula, and we got phone numbers exchanged. Gotcha. We didn't even know each other's names.
Yeah, that's so great.
Yeah, so. It's all history from there.
Good stuff. And so we dated, we got married.
Yeah, we dated, and we wound up, now I'm not condoning this, wasn't the right thing, but we wound up moving in together. Actually, you know, I'm going to back up a little bit. We were dating, and she had a daughter. Taylor was 3 or something like that at the time, and she didn't want me, to meet her at first.
Right.
When she was going to make sure me and her were good before she introduced me to Taylor.
Okay.
And so later on, she wound up introducing me to her after a year of us dating constantly. Okay. And it was at my my little cousin, my godchild. It was at his birthday party where I met her, and we hit it off pretty good. So cool. We were able to establish a relationship and move on.
Right.
Move on from there.
Yeah.
So, and after a little while, she wound up buying a house, and I wound up selling all my stuff, and we moved in together. And like I said, I'm not condoning moving in together before marriage and any of this stuff. But, that's just where we were. And Monica was going to church more than I ever was,
Yeah.
So she had somewhat of a relationship going on, but with the Lord, but not so much me.
Yeah. Okay. So we're married. We get married. We have Marley, our little second little love. I love her to death. She's my little sound engineer behind the scenes. And so we're married. Monica and the girls going to church. You're going to church, not going to church?
They would go to church more than I would go with them.
Okay.
So, and it's not like I could have easily went, but what I was doing, I love fishing.
Yeah.
Right. So what I was doing with a lot of my time was fishing.
Yeah.
And that's just where, let's just say that was my God.
Okay.
I put everything into fishing more than I was doing anything else. So I'd go out there, and I was yet again filling another void in my life. Either though what was important was right in front of me the whole time.
Yeah.
But you kind of get lost in that, especially if you are lost.
Yeah.
So,
right. Let's talk a little bit before we go to the next step. What was it like going from being a single 20-year-old guy just doing his own thing to now I'm a husband, now I'm a dad?
Yeah.
Like what was that little transition like for you?
Man, that's a big thing, because you skip so many steps of, you don't have a kid of your own, and you all of a sudden are helping take care of somebody else's kid, But remember, Jesus had a stepdad.
Right.
So
that's right. He did.
He did.
He did.
Right.
He did. And if Joseph could do it, then you guys can do it for sure. So, and then of course you guys had your own kid and had Marley and got to experience those things in a different way, in a different, I love watching you and your oldest together. Like, even though you guys aren't related, there's just this chemistry between you two.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That I just love to watch, her with you and you with her. My brother, who was here a couple weeks ago, it's the same thing. Like, these boys aren't his blood related, but you would never know that because they've just gelled together so well as a family. And he took that responsibility of being a dad and a father and a leader in that capacity. And so it's amazing when you can do that and you can't see the seam, right?
Yeah.
You can't see the seam in between. So and you guys have done it well, watching you guys. Not to take away from her real dad and
absolutely
I know she still has a relationship and things like that, but just to see inside the functioning of your family that your biological child and her, there's no seam. Like it flows really well.
Well, also, since I didn't really have a dad, I also had people that were in my life that, I considered like a father figure to me.
Yeah. Like
my mom was with somebody for 17 years. And I called him my stepdad. And he was a very influential person on my life.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't be painting cars if it wasn't for him.
And he was there for the first, right? Like the dances and the growing up, the things that you went through, he was there for those moments in your life.
Yeah.
So Gotcha.
Absolutely. So, and then another person that would be influenced my life would father figure or kind of just man person in my life would be my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
And he took me fishing and hunting with him. He's my my mom's little brother.
Got you.
So he was only 10 years he's only 10 years older than me.
Got you.
So
it's like big brother, little brother kind of thing.
So I'd go hunting and fishing with him and go down the river all the time. And, I learned how to swim by him throwing me out of a boat.
Oh, that's usually how it goes.
Hey, there's an alligator right there.
Sink or swim, right? But I think that's really cool. Like when you look back and see how the Lord provided in those moments, like I can look back in my life and be like, God, you provided that.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
You, in a different way, in a unique way, the Lord still provided for those missing spots in our life. Like just the goodness of
Whether
God.
you realize it or not.
Right.
And
Like,
at the time, I'd never realized
at the time, you don't realize
it
it at all. But looking back, you're like, wow, he really provided. Like he really is a good father. He really is there and present and wants the best for us, no matter the situation that we're in or we're not in. So, all right. So we're married. Monica's kind of going in and out of church. You're not really. You're fishing. Where?
Fishing
what happens?
To give you perspective, the day after Marley was born, I was fishing a tournament. She said it was okay, but still doesn't make it
right,
okay.
right. We say a lot of things sometimes,
right, yeah.
but so
I get it now.
Yeah, right. You get it now. It makes sense
Right.
now. All right. So we are fishing. We are doing our thing, and what happens?
Oh man, I guess revival comes around.
Okay.
I guess we can go down that, right?
Yeah. What's that look like for your family?
So at first,
Well, let's talk about revival because there are people that aren't from here that don't know. There's a local church here. Had a guest speaker come in. Revival hit our town, and people were just going to this little small church in the middle of nowhere. Nowhereville, literally Nowhereville. But God was doing something in our community.
Yeah, yes, he was. So revival comes around, right? And Monica and Mitchel,
who is Monica's sister? Yeah,
her sister, my sister-in-law. They're going to revival. They started going I guess the first week, every night. And this was going on every night.
Yeah, every night. It was happening.
Night. Not a Sunday thing, not a Saturday. No, this is every night for about 3 hours straight.
Yeah.
And so they were going, and I'm just like, okay, y'all go ahead.
Go ahead. Have a good time.
I had to stay work late or,
any excuse not to be there. Right.
I didn't need to be there. I'm good. I know who Jesus
That's
is.
That's right. Yeah. All right.
So, a little bit later, they're coming up to me and they're like, oh yeah, Aaron got saved. Was my brother-in-law, Michelle's husband. Y'all will hear that story. Calling you out, Michelle. Then the next night or so, Taylor's getting saved. I'm thinking to myself, what's everybody getting saved from? What does that mean?
I love that question. I love that because coming from somebody that grew up in church my whole life, when we had our conversation a few weeks and we were talking about what we were going to talk about, you made that statement it hit me like a ton of bricks that there are people, and we even talked about it, there are people in our community that are like, what are you being saved from? That's a foreign concept to you. To me, who's been in church my whole life, I know what we're being saved from, but to have somebody that you actively know and as part of your community say, what do I need to be saved from?
Right.
Just kind of blows your mind. The sets in reality of how much the world has changed compared to the Bible Belt era that kind of just took over the area and things like that. So I think we miss that sometimes. We just assume because everybody lives in the South
Right.
under the Bible Belt that
Right.
everybody's heard about Jesus and they
Right.
know what we're, and they're just living in sin because they want to.
Right.
And then there's
Some
people
people
like
gotta be
you
reminded.
had no idea.
Yeah, I had
What are
no
we being
idea.
saved from?
Right. Like I said, I've gone to church and I've been in all these churches in this town, and not one time did I hear what I heard coming out of that preacher. You know.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was lost. I didn't know I was on my way to hell.
Yeah.
I didn't know those things. You know.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. So were revivals happening in our area? Your wife is going, people are getting saved. You're not really sure what we're getting saved from.
no.
So what happens? Like where we go from here?
So I finally wound up going. Well, actually, like one night I went by there to pick up Marley because she was staying in the daycare or whatever. And of course, you know, I made the excuse. I'm just gonna go home. I'll watch it on TV, which I didn't.
Right.
So, but the next night, I want to say it was like a Friday night. I don't remember what day it was, but I did go, and they had me sitting right on the front row at the church, and it was November 2nd, 2022, and DR was preaching that night, and he was preaching your window of opportunity. Don't miss your window of opportunity. And I remember him telling a story of a girl that she went out with some friends and he was trying to get her to go to revival. She never would. And that night she went out drinking and partying with her friends, wound up falling and hitting her head and dying.
Wow.
And she went to heaven because she missed her window of opportunity.
Right. Gotcha.
And I was just sitting there. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want that to be me.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm like, I'm about to get right with God right here. We about to do business tonight.
Yeah.
You know. And I know they were praying for me. All my family, well,
Okay.
Monica and Mitchel and all. I know they were all
Yeah.
praying for me to get up there. So, and I had no problem when they did that altar call.
Yeah.
Whenever you raise your hand and say you were a sinner and all that, I had no problem getting up and going up there and going to pray. So that night, the old me died.
Awesome.
The old, new me was born
What-
instantly.
Tell us about that. Do you remember that moment? Like
Absolutely.
tell us about that moment.
Then whenever I'm sitting there saying that prayer, and everybody wants something supernatural to happen to you, right? Or we just look for that supernatural, that we need an insurance that there's something on that other side, right?
Yeah. Right.
So I'm up there at the altar and I'm praying and I'm like, what's about to happen? What is going to happen? Well, I felt the Holy Spirit just drop down into the center of my body and then just spread out. I was like, okay,
It's awesome.
that was awesome.
Right?
You know,
So we leave there and what happens?
man, I left there that night and I got into this that night. I went home and I started reading all the Gospels. I wanted to know who Jesus was.
Right.
So that's what I started doing. Then
We're going to church. We're reading the word. What is happening to you on the inside as you're reading this? Like, because you said earlier, what am I being saved from? Like, what's happening as you're reading this word? What's that thing that's happening inside of you?
it's like conviction, right? And that's what we get from the word is
Right.
conviction. And you're learning who Jesus was and who we should be as a Christian. So I'm looking up this stuff and what's the fruits of the Spirit? What is that? What's
Right.
not the fruits of the Spirit? Well, I'm reading all these things and I'm going through it and I'm like, is this in my life? No, this is not. This is though, but so we need to fix this.
Right.
So it's just instructions. It's
It's-
pretty easy to follow.
So how does that begin to affect your life?
It 360'd me. I mean, I'm talking about from the night I got home, like I didn't say another cuss word. I stopped listening to secular music. I will not listen to secular music anymore. The devil's music, really.
Right.
You're just opening yourself up to
Yeah.
demonic things, which you should be closed off to anyway, if we're going to be calling ourselves Christians.
Right.
So I'm walking, talking. I'm different.
Yeah.
I'm not the same person I once was.
How are the people around you reacting to this?
I don't really think they really knew how to take that. I don't think they really still know how to take that, because of where I was and where I'm at now. I just don't think people. I don't think people believe that can happen. But until you have that encounter yourself, I mean,
right. I could tell you about it all day long. Right. But till you encounter it, I told somebody the other day, like, I've had an encounter with the Lord. You could never talk me out of that.
No,
because
absolutely not.
you know, like if you've tasted the best ice cream in the world, you can't ever tell me that wasn't the best ice cream, because I've tasted it. And the word says, taste and see that he is good. Nobody can talk you out of that. Nobody can explain it away. Nobody can give you any kind of science or formula to say you have lost your mind, because I know what I've encountered.
Right.
And there's something in that knowing that just settles within you and causes you to set those roots deep in there beyond. On the days that it's hard, the days that it's easy, there's just these roots that have just set down in there in the middle of that. So what does it look like in your family? How does it change the family dynamic for you guys?
Man, I'm going to say at first it wasn't really that easy, because now I know what my role is, or I think I know what my role is as a father or a husband. But until you start putting that into practice, it's kind of hard to transition into that, especially if you were not following Jesus. You didn't have Jesus as your focal point in your family. So now you're having to transition a bunch of stuff out.
Which everybody's always on board for, right? It's just so easy to do.
Right.
And now I remember that with Brandon, like when we went through some things and he finally was like, okay, I'm going to be the priest of the house. That took me dying to some things that I felt like I had carried for so long that I'm like, okay, well, here you go. You can do it. And I give it to you, but I really am like trying to pull it back and forth, right? Like I want you to be the priest, but so much easier said than done.
Right.
And then my kids learning, okay, dad's the authority, mom's not the authority. And me still even having to remind myself, dad's the authority, mom's not, you know what I'm saying? Just falling under that. And so I get that. I get that. So good stuff, man. So I want to talk a little bit, because I know something that's really big on your heart is I want to talk about your deliverance and your wife's deliverance. And for some of you watching, it might be a little touchy situation, but we'll
get y'all clean.
We're not going to go into the details of can't you, whatever. Okay. Have some people here in the area that were doing deliverance. Yeah. She goes through deliverance. I remember in our conversation, you talked about her being delivered and you were not, and dynamic for those few days that you guys had.
That was miserable. So she goes through it, right? And I went on a fishing trip that morning, and honestly, I thought she was going to chicken out.
Yeah.
I didn't think she was going to go through with it. So, but she never told me anything. Like, I never questioned her about it. I didn't want to like discourage her from doing it, you know? And so I come home and we're sitting down on the couch, and I can tell something was different, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm like, what in the world? What's wrong with her? And then she just calmly says, "Are you going to ask me about it?" You did?
You actually went?
You actually went through it?
Right.
She's like, "Yeah, I did." I was like, all right. So she tells me about it and everything, and I was like, all right. I wanted to move on and help my walk. Right. Just be transparent, broken, burden free, chains broken, all of it. I want it all falling off of me. And so at this time we left the church where we were at, and we started going to a new church. And it was funny because we were leaving to go to church that day, and she's like, we're not going where we've been going. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, I want to go check out this new church. We go there, and granted, I had not been through deliverance yet. So we go up in there, and I'm sitting down, and the worship comes on, and I'm telling you, like, they're gonna blast the demons out of you in my church. If you're gonna walk up in there with them, you're gonna leave without them.
Just because the presence of the Lord is so strong and so thick there.
Yes, absolutely. They do a phenomenal job of that. So I'm up there, and we're worshiping, and I'm just like, I'm not feeling right. I look at her, and I'm like, I'm not feeling good. She looks back at me. She's like, are you manifesting? I'm like, I think I am.
Yeah. Something about the presence of Jesus will do, make you little demons a little nervous.
It was funny because they were playing that song, that Charity Gale song, Echo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Talking about casting demons out in Jesus' name.
Yeah.
So,
and your demons are like, what?
Yeah. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, I literally had to walk out.
Right.
And I thought I was going to go to the bathroom and puke, which I didn't. I held it all back. But we loved it. Service was great and everything. But the next few days was just, I was like, man, I was really edgy, and just, whatever was in me did not want to be in me anymore because of what I was exposing it to.
Yeah.
Because I was surrounding myself with Jesus. So it was like, I'm done being inside of you. You know?
Because I think sometimes we get caught up on the thing of, I've asked Jesus to come live in my heart. He is the Lord of my heart, and he is, but we still got some things that we need to break off of us, some habits that we need to change about our life, some mentalities that we need to change. Like, does Jesus come in and set us free? Absolutely. But then we have to go home and do our homework, right? Yes. Like, we have to go home and be like, okay, I see these habits in my life. I see these things that I've been doing. I want to let those go. I want to renounce them. I want to set them aside. Yes. And I think so many people sometimes will get in this religious mindset of Jesus came in, set me free. It's all gone. Mm-hmm. And he did come in and he set us free, and it is all gone. But our flesh, the Bible even says, like, the spirit's willing, but the flesh is weak. We got to beat that flesh into submission, as the word says, and say, flesh, that's no longer who you are. That's no longer how you operate. Right. But there's still these things, right? And so I'm going to follow this new path and direction of the Lord. Right.
Keep moving forward. So, and it got so bad that, so I was supposed to wait until that following weekend, and I was here one night. We were talking about going to the Wednesday.
When you say waiting, because we had some people in town that like were praying for deliverance, some pastors and stuff that were really doing that, and you wanted to sit with them and do it, right? Yes. Is that what you're saying? Okay, all right, go ahead.
So they were coming back to town to do deliverance for me, and I had to wait. So, like, she's delivered, I'm waiting. So, we talked about going to the Wednesday evening service because our church does a Wednesday nights. And I'm like, I'm all excited to go back, because it was really good. Right. And I'm like, awesome, let's go, And then, all of a sudden, just whatever was inside of me did not like the thought of me going back to that place. I started feeling bad. I started feeling the same way I was when I was at the church. Well, I told her, I was like, look, I'm not feeling right. Something's wrong. I was manifesting. Again. Right. And I went out into the yard, and I'm like trying to hack and whatever come out of me, but at that time I couldn't do it myself and get it out. So I told her, I was like, there ain't no way that I'm sick. I was like, so I told her to open up to the Bible to like, oh man, where they're talking about Beelzebub, Prince of Demons and stuff. I said, read this where Jesus is casting this demon out. Well, she starts reading that and she says, and I just start hacking in the yard. I'm like, oh, you know?
Right.
So I come up in here and I told her, I looked at her, I was like, you have to get whatever is in me out of me because it does not want to be in me.
You got to pray this thing out, do something.
Get this thing out.
Kind of release.
Yes. And so we come inside. The girls are in the bathtub. We're trying to get them in the bathtub, get them squared away.
Right.
Because we're going in the prayer closet. We getting this out. We have a deliverance handbook from Greg Locke, and we go up in there. And well, at first, like it was like chaos going on around us. The kids are arguing. Marley's freaking out. We're trying to get them situated, taking a bath, and this and that. And she comes around the corner and she looks at me. She says, my eyes were like pitch black. I said, get it out of me. So we go in the prayer closet and I started renouncing and everything, and things started breaking off of me and unforgiveness came out and all this stuff. So I'm crying, I'm throwing up, I'm doing this and that.
But you know what? I know listening to you, I can only imagine probably some of the viewers are like, okay, I'm turning this off. But I think sometimes when we're open to letting the Holy Spirit do a deep work inside of us, that he goes to the layers, like you said, the unforgiveness, the things that maybe we've harbored for so long, the things that we've covered up. You talked about earlier, the holes that we're trying to fill. All of that stuff just gets pushed down inside of us because we spend years trying to fill ourselves with it. So we just keep pouring layer on layer upon layer. And so sometimes it's just a process to get free from some of these things. It's a process to pray our way through these, to fast our way through these levels of freedom in our life. And it doesn't matter how long you've been saved. Like, I know this, like we're talking about this, and maybe those watching will say, oh, it happened in a matter of years. No, like we're talking weeks and months that it happened, like really short period of time that the Lord did this thing in your life. A kid who, like I say a kid, but a man who just a few months ago was like, what do I need to be saved from?
Exactly.
Like, what am I trying to, like, what is this all about? To go in just in a matter of 4, 5, 6 months of God's delivering me. I'm manifesting. The demons are coming out. My whole life is shifting and changing 360. And to other people listening, they're probably like, this is crazy. This is the wildest story anybody's ever said. But to watch it, like because I'm so close with your wife too. I've seen it. I've seen it happen in her. I've seen it happen in your family. To watch just the freedom in just the short amount of time. It really is mind blowing. It really is like, did that really happen? Like, because it happened so quickly and it happened so fast. But I think it was because you were so open.
Yes.
You were so like, God, whatever you want to do, whatever it looks like, however, you didn't have. I remember several years ago when my brother started his church, he had some people coming to his church and he said, it's so easy to work with them because they don't have the church hurt. They don't have any knowledge of the church. They don't know what religion is supposed to look like. They were just a clean slate. Yes. And sometimes when you've been in church your whole life, when you've been through church hurt, you've been through church after church after church, whatever, you have all these walls of what church is supposed to look like, what Jesus, what ministry is supposed to look like. But for somebody to come in like you, who's like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be saved from, let alone if deliverance is right or not, just to be fully open to God doing whatever, I think that's beautiful. Yeah. And it's something that a lot of the church misses.
I surrendered.
Yeah.
Surrendered my life to him.
Whatever that looked like. Whatever it took.
Whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
Hey, here I am.
Open and bare.
Use me.
Yeah.
Better be careful though how you pray for that, because he will use you.
So what's life look like now? I know you're still fishing, but playing a little golf here and there. I heard you picked up some golf, but like what's life like now, or what's your heart? What's your passion now?
Jesus. This is very simple. No, well, yeah, but I think the best thing right now is it's been a really good time for me is just pouring into my family, pouring into the girls, my wife. It wasn't easy at first, like I said, because you're going from one way to a whole nother way, whether that be like, just grabbing your wife up and say, hey, let's pray.
Right.
Grabbing the family up, gathering around everybody. Like we do that quite a bit. Just gather everybody around, just pray. Just make that normal in your household, and you'll quickly see the benefits of it.
Yeah.
I mean, even Marley, she was just telling you her
Right.
Bible verse she learned.
Oh yeah, and she's in kindergarten. Yeah.
Right. And Taylor's coming to me, hey, guess what? I just finished the book of Galatians.
Yeah.
So I mean, that right there is like that's a reflection of me leading them and being the spiritual leader that I'm supposed to be and ministering my family.
Absolutely.
And
that's the fruit, right?
That's the fruit.
So often we think fruit is just like my joy, my peace, my hope, but like that's fruit like anybody else. To have your kids say, hey, I just read Galatians. Like she was in here, we were just talking about Bibles and what she had just read and stuff. And for your teenager to be saying, I just read Galatians and this is what God's speaking to me and I can't wait to tell my testimony, and like that's fruit that's so much sweeter than anything anybody can give you.
It's so much better than what I was trying to do.
Right.
Like I said, you can go try to fill all these voids. That's the truth. That's what God wants to do with you. That's how he wants to fill you up.
Yeah.
And he wants to fill you up so you can pour out onto other people.
Right.
And like I've just been praying lately that whatever I'm saying on here actually encourages somebody.
Yeah.
Encourages another man, a man of God coming up. Even a woman that's like, man, I need to pray for my husband.
Yeah.
I need to strengthen him.
Right.
Just keep it up because it's
it.
right around the corner.
Right.
Don't give up. Like the Bible says, pray without ceasing, right?
Yeah.
Keep it going.
I love that.
Because you don't know what that's going to turn into.
Yeah.
It's going to turn into a blessing.
Yeah.
So you just can't give up on it.
I like that. I love it. All right. Well, I've got a few bonus things that I want to ask you about. We didn't talk about these. We'll get a few bonus things for you. What or do you have a favorite Bible verse?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I don't know it off the top of my head.
What is it then?
I can probably flip right to it.
Okay. Well, go for it. We'll make it. Isaiah. Like it. Good book.
Right to it.
Look right to it.
61:1. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me because the Lord has anointed me to preach the good tidings to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prisons to those who are bound. Which I truly believe that kind of relates to deliverance.
Right.
But
yeah. So why that verse, you think?
Just because, like, I want people to experience the freedom that I have experienced going through this whole Christian walk. I want people to be encouraged and I want them to want to be set free. Like I want their walk to be more.
Yeah.
Because we're made for more.
Yeah.
We're made for something greater. So that's it.
I love that. I feel sometimes we just get saved and we get settled into our relationship with the Lord, and we were made for more. Like God is so much bigger than what we give him credit for, and he just wants to be more in our life.
Yeah.
And so I think we need to make room for him, whatever that looks like, however that looks.
I told Monica yesterday because I got invited to go to shoot skeet. I call it God and Guns. It was the first time they did it, but I got invited to it. And the guy that owns the place, he was actually trying to get me to like share my testimony. I was like, man, I'm not really prepared for that. I don't think that's a good idea. I said, but we started kind of doing a little devotional while we were out there shooting guns and stuff, which was very fun. And we gathered around and we started talking and everything. And, it was just men. And I was just trying to encourage them to what I've been saying,
Right.
get out there and pray for your wives and pray with your children, be the leaders that we're meant to be.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love it. Okay. Do you have a favorite character in the Bible? A character or a person in the Bible?
Man, I'm not really sure.
Okay. Do you have a favorite story in the Bible or a favorite moment that you've read about in the Bible that just kind of just sticks out to you? That's like, yeah, that's the one.
I'm trying to think. I really don't. I never really thought of that yet.
I know. I told you it was bonus. A little bonus here.
I mean, I've actually finally read the whole Bible in a year.
Yeah, you've been doing the Bible recap, right? Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm on my second round of the New Testament.
Got you.
So I've already read the whole Bible, which that was one thing. Whenever I got saved, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so behind. I got to learn this Bible. I got so many people are ahead of me, and I don't know any of them. I'm just a little baby.
Yeah.
But I quickly realized that I'm not that far behind.
No, you're not.
There's people in and out of the church and sitting on the church pews that they have not experienced God.
Right.
How I've experienced God in my life.
It's amazing how many people go to church every Sunday and they never crack their Bible. Like they sit and they struggle, and I'm like, he says that it's sharper than a two-edged sword. Yeah. There's nothing that's ever happened on the earth that's not in this word, right? There's nothing that we could ever encounter that's not been encountered. If even to the point like, I had somebody in my life who recently just retired from their business, and it was bittersweet. And I was thinking, like, how can I encourage them? Like, what is a Bible verse, a Bible story that's like bittersweet? And Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, he's like, if this cup can pass from me, let it. But if not, I'm willing. Like, that was a bittersweet moment in his life. So I don't think there's anything that we can ever experience and go through that's not already taken place in this word that we can't find hope in. We can't find solace in. We can't find deliverance in. We can't find a future in, fulfillment in. It's right here in the word, but we just go to church and we just let our pastors preach at us and teach at us. And we're like, why is nothing changing kind of thing? Yeah, just warm bodies on a pew.
Checking off a box.
Right. Well, do you have anything else you want to add? It's been great. Anything else?
I'll add. I kind of want to talk about my church and revival men, my men's group.
Okay.
How that's kind of helped me also.
Right.
Kind of along. Actually the whole church. I've just recently started going there, going to the men's group. We've been going there for a year solid. But I will say that the pastors are doing a phenomenal job of shepherding us, doing their job. And the men's group is awesome. I go in there on Tuesdays and we really do. We talk about anything, and there's a lot of wisdom in that group. And I just thank God that he put me in there to be around some of those guys, because I've heard some of their stories and I know a little bit of where they come from, and they're really good, really supportive.
I love that.
And we've all just become really good friends.
Yeah. I love that there's a push for men, because for so long in the church, the women have pushed and the men have kind of stepped back. Yeah. And I think in these last days and in this hour, we need men to lead. We need, you look at the generation, you look at the men that we're raising, the boys that we're raising now, they need fathers. They need warriors. They need people to show them how to be a dad, how to be a warrior, how to pray for their wife. Yeah. Like I didn't have a dad, but I learned how to pray because I heard my mom pray, right? our sons and our daughters need to see dads pray. They need to see and hear moms pray. They need that example, and for the men to be stepping up and taking their rightful place and their authority as the head of the home. Not that you're greater than us, not that women and men aren't great and created in the image of God, but God is a God of order, and God is a God that sets things in positions for a reason. And he's created you as a man differently than he's created me as a woman, and we need each other in different ways. And to see men rising up in the church, becoming who God's created them to be and purposed them to be, is what we need more than ever. And we'll see a shift, I think, begin to happen when men continue to do that and support other men. That is, we're not just fighting against each other at all.
Like, as men, though, it's like you're prideful, and get rid of that, first of all. But, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm big and strong, and I'm this and I'm that. You're not going to catch me in a vulnerable state, But as a man, if you can get in a vulnerable state and show that you have some kind of compassion, you're more of a man doing that than you are saying, I'm big and strong and I do this and I do that. When really, you're not doing anything. You're not helping the cause.
Not at all. Well, I love that. Thank you so much. This has been good. You've done a great job. Thanks so much for being here. Just to see literally your testimony within the last 2 years of and this literally is like within the last year and a half, 2 years. This is fresh. This is new. Just to see the growth happening in you, happening in your family. I want to thank you and your family for the support they've given me. This God's Coffee Call is here. Like, your family, I can't even, my husband and I talk about you guys all the time. Like, the support, the prayers behind the scenes, you gave us one of the cameras that we're using right now. And like, you guys had the idea of putting together somebody to get us our laptop. Like, we talked about that a couple weeks ago. Like, your family was the start of that. And God's Coffee Call would not, maybe we'd be here, but we'd probably be a few steps behind. But God has lined us up and put the right people at the right time. And so we're forever grateful.
We seen the vision with you. You know? We knew what it could be. So. And that's what we need. That's what everybody needs, is to people to catch the vision and run with you. And just the suggestions that come from you and from your wife and even from your sister-in-law, those suggestions that come have spurred so many things on, not only here on the podcast, but during the week when we do our daily things. Your family has been totally instrumental to where we are. And so it is an honor to sit here. And in just a couple of weeks, I get to sit with your wife. She'll be here with us. She's excited about that, maybe. But just to hear her story, which is totally different from yours, quite different from yours. Very different.
Just to see how God has brought you two together and has told a beautiful story between both of your testimonies and your family together. And so I thank you so much for being here. Thanks for sharing your story, and keep sharing it. I don't have to tell you that. I know you're going to continue sharing and telling the goodness of God. I just want
to get out there and encourage people.
Yeah. And I think you have. I hope you have. I'm sure you have. Yeah. Well, thank you all for joining us. Again, this is Mitchell. He is a family friend, but also a man that just carries the heart of God, carries the testimony of the Lord. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for joining us. If you are new to God's Coffee Call, please subscribe to us. Set that alarm every Tuesday at 9 a.m. You will get a fresh new episode. Like this video for us. Comment in the bottom what you liked or you didn't like, maybe. I don't know. It's there. It's open, right? But just thank you so much for taking the time to watch us. Thank you, Mitchell, again for being here. And the opportunity just to sit and have a conversation with a man that loves the Lord as intensely as you do. So until next week, thank you guys for joining God's Coffee Call. We will see you. I pray that your coffee is strong and that your heart is full and that you find freedom in the Lord. We'll see you next week. Bye.
What is it?
Yeah, do you remember? I can do what?
I can do all things with Christ who strengthens
Okay,
me.
awesome. All right, you ready? All right. So this is Marley. Marley's joining us. We got a little bonus feature. Here, put the mic right there for me. She's my little sound engineer. Marley learned a Bible verse and she wants to share it with us. Can you share us your Bible verse? What is it?
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Girl, yes, you can. And Miss Marley watches Coffee Call with me every morning, and she wants to come host a God's Coffee Call with me. Maybe one day. Yep. Do you want to share anything else about Jesus or anything like that? No? Well, you did awesome. High five. You rocked. I think your dad did a pretty good job, too. You leaving us? Okay.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.